Hello, welcome back. I'm Dan Salem. We are here to talk live the NFL. Got Phil here from the View from 323 podcast. All right, it was a rough week for your team. My team had an okay week. Welcome back. How are you?
An okay week. You destroyed the Denver Broncos. It wasn't even a game.
Yeah. No, that was. We'll get into that in a second. Let me go live. Let me live the behind the scenes here. On. All right, so 3, 2, 1 on that. All right, so we're live on Facebook now. So Facebook, hello, or I'll go over here. This is weird. We're behind the scenes on our live stream, so you can watch us live on Facebook or on YouTube after the fact. Yeah, so the Jets won. It wasn't particularly competitive. The Giants lost the nail biter. They gave it away basically.
Well.
Both. I didn't see the refs blunders. I only.
Dan, this was one for the ages. This was. All right, we'll start with that because I've been chomping at the bit for days. Yeah, I've been chomping at the bit, waiting for days to talk about this. All right, the other week against the Saints, there was, I thought, a bunch of questionable calls. This week got even worse. All right, I'm going to show this. I want to know why this play right here was not the number one topic on every sports show on Monday morning. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but there's a green arrow. That green arrow is pointing to Christian McCaffrey not getting a first down, all right? This was the very final drive of the play, or very final play of that drive. McCaffrey doesn't get the first down, in my opinion, and I think in most other people's opinions. Cam Newton comes up, spikes the ball. He thinks it's first down. I think it's fourth down. So I don't understand why you have a replay system, and I get replay. I like replay. It gets a lot of the calls wrong, right that you can't see in real time. The problem with replay now is that you can't challenge the last 2 minutes of the game when it's the most crucial time of the game, and something like this happens.
They're supposed to replay every close play. Like they're supposed to review every play in the last 2 minutes and then call the review if it's close, right?
Hold on, let me get it again.
Okay.
I threw it because I'm so angry. Now, I know that this yellow line is not official. We hear that all the time.
Right.
That green arrow is pointing to the ball. That ball is not over that yellow line. So I'm watching this, and I saw it live, and I go, oh, that wasn't a first down. Perfect. Then all of a sudden, Cam Newton comes up and spikes the ball. I'm like, he just spiked the ball on fourth down. The game's over. He doesn't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, Graham Gano kicks a 63-yarder. Everybody's so focused on the fact that he hit a 63-yarder. That play should have happened in the beginning. And that's just the cherry on top of a slew of bad calls. I don't know how much of this game you saw, but
it was on the same time as the Jets, so I just saw when they would cut away. I saw the Giants muff the punt that gave the Panthers an easy touchdown.
That didn't start the game very well. That ended up being 14-3, but
it ended up being the difference in the game. That's not – the Giants recovered from it. So let me give you my opinion on the Giants, since I'm not a fan of the Giants per se.
Okay.
They seem to be a team in turmoil because they keep finding new ways to hurt themselves. They're playing a lot of close football games. Every single one of these games they could have easily won. 2 years ago, they won every one of these games and went 11-5. Last year, they lost. They were worse last year. They kind of
last year was an anomaly.
Last year was an exception. This year, they're losing these games by 2, 3, 4 points. And that really swings the season now. So, this kind of luck tends to even out over the course of 16 games, which makes them 8-8, which nobody wants. Because then you don't get a good draft pick and you're not in the playoffs. So that sucks. So, I would have given you that the NFL was on the side of Drew Brees, but they've never been on Cam Newton's side. So I don't know why the calls are all swinging against the Giants. But they used to like the Giants, but I think Eli Manning's kind of on the outs in terms of the league's marketing. I'm not a big – I like conspiracy, but the NFL is almost impossible to rig. Plays like this.
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm just saying –
I'm not saying – I know you're not saying it's rigged, but that type of a call gave the Panthers an opportunity to win, which they did seize.
It blows my mind that no one picked up on this fact that even none of the announcers said it, none of the people the next day is like, oh, McCaffrey never got that first down. That means that 63-yarder by Gano never should have happened. And let's just say they I'm all flustered because I'm getting all riled up. All right. So Gano kicking a 63-yarder when he has 3 minutes to set up because they supposedly got the first down and they spiked the ball and everything. That's a lot easier than trying to run out in the field as the clock's running down 3, 2, 1 and trying to kick a 63-yarder. That makes a hell of a lot of difference. But the point of my whole rant is that was the cherry on top of a slew of awful calls. You had the late hit on Cam Newton, which didn't really happen. You had the hit on a defensive player from Landon Collins that never happened because he's going for the ball. That continued to drive. You also had a defensive holding penalty that was questionable. It's just every time the Giants literally stopped them on third down, the yellow flag was coming out. It got to the point where they make a big stop, and I'm just like, all right, where's the flag? And it came every single time. And despite all that, despite all the bad calls, despite being down 11 points in the fourth quarter, Eli still took them down the field, took the lead nonetheless. Yeah. And then obviously that's, what happened with McCaffrey. It's just they finally cracked the 30-point mark, which everyone was saying hadn't been done in a year and a half. The offensive line played well. Eli, he threw 2 picks, but so did Cam, so that's kind of a wash. It's like they're getting better incrementally, but at some point you have to turn that into wins.
You know what's funny? If I didn't know you were talking about the Giants, you could easily be talking about the Jets of any other season but this current one.
And I said that to Bud last week. I said, Bud, our teams are this is before Sunday's games, I said, our teams are kind of in the same boat here. It's like they're mirror images of each other.
Yeah, the only difference is that the Jets have a young quarterback and the Giants have an older quarterback. Now the Giants
that's what we said.
The Giants have a star running back. The Jets have a very good running game after last week. I'll wait to transition for a moment because I really didn't think the Giants were going to be like really awful last season. Most people didn't. And they had every reason to rebound this year. They just released Eric Flowers, so they got rid of the real one bad player on the team. And their offensive lines come back together.
It's we said this in the beginning of the season. You had 5 new guys that were literally playing a new position. It takes more than a 3-week training camp to gel and communicate. It takes time. I
like to talk about how a team can succeed. So the way I see the Giants succeeding is that they start playing angry because they have every reason to be upset over the last 2 weeks, these very close losses. The team, I think the media is trying to fracture them. The media is trying to pit them against each other. I don't think they are. So I think that they can bind together in the locker room and just keep their mouth shut and let the media say whatever they want. If they can come together angry in the locker room, this is a team, when you've only lost by a couple points and you're putting up 30, play a little better defense and you're going to win these games. They're not anywhere near – I mean, they're really still in this. Have they played a divisional game yet? I know they got the Eagles this week. I think they played one. They lost to Dallas week 1. So, they got a ton of division games left in a division in which 2-2 is leading, and that's not an impressive 2-2. So, their sights are on the NFC East. They're not going to win the wild card, but they could easily win the NFC East by winning the divisional football games. I mean, they have to beat the Eagles on Thursday. Both teams are on a short week. The Eagles look awful. The Giants got to carry this anger and then just destroy them on Thursday, and that'll set the season up. I mean, another loss, and they're absolutely out of it at 1-5. I don't see them coming back from 1-5. It's not impossible, but 2-4 in that division, they'd both be 2-4 would be the same record as the Eagles. So they're obviously in another must-win game, but I like the way the Giants look better than the Eagles right now. So,
yeah, the best thing that could have happened on Sunday, even though they had that, Dan, I had to leave the house for about 45 minutes after this. I took my son. I said, we're going in the wagon. I took like a 40-minute walk because I was stewing and I needed to blow some steam up.
Okay.
But the best thing that happened on Sunday is, yes, the Cowboys lost, which we all love when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles lost, and obviously the Redskins lost on Monday night, which I don't think anyone is surprised because the Saints are just that good. So you're right. The leader in the clubhouse right now is at 2-2. You're only a game and a half out of first. Now, they're not going to win the wild card. I agree with you. You need to go on a 3-4 game win streak. You have the Eagles coming up, which I think we both agreed are not the Eagles from last year. That we can agree on. No. Then they play the Falcons, who have no defense. Oh. You're going to let Pittsburgh run all over you, and they have their issues. Hopefully Odell Beckham has a great night like he did the other night. But there's some winnable games, and we said the first 7 games of this season were very tough. So
my brother wrote that in August that if they could get, then they didn't exactly.
3-4. If you get out of here 3-4 after 7 games, I will take that right now. But that means you have to win your next 2.
Right. Well, and so they're not going to be the Panthers have a very good defense. The Eagles don't this season, not yet anyways. Atlanta doesn't, and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't. So the Giants need to capitalize on this bad defense. They need to step it up defensively on their own end because they've been giving up too many points. But
it'll be nice to get Olivier Vernon back, from his high ankle sprain. It's been 5 weeks now. Let's go. Evan Ingram, I think, is actually going to play on Thursday, and Eli Apple's back. So
that helps.
It's like it's right there. It's just you got to get over that hump.
Yeah.
It's right there. And if you're going to keep having these close losses, I don't know how much more of this I can take. Because I went through the roller coaster of emotions on Sunday, going from, like you said, when they had the fumble in the end zone, it's 14-3. All right, this is not going to go well. Then they keep it close, take the lead, then lose. It's just, I went through the entire gamut of emotions on Sunday.
Let me use that to transition because I felt good about the Jets heading into this season because all of their losses last year, outside of like 2, were very close. And if you have a team that's
very close
losses, they're competitive. They're staying in the game. They're a player or 2 away from flipping the script. And I wasn't expecting the Jets to blow out Denver on Sunday because I thought the Broncos had a good defense. But I've been very happy with the Jets defense. I snatched them after week 1 for fantasy purposes just because it makes it more fun for me to watch them and root for their defense. But their defense is getting turnovers every single game, and that has made the whole difference. I don't know where the Giants stand in the turnover category, but that may be one of the reasons that they're coming up short because the Jets, despite they only have 2 victories, they gave the game away against the Browns, in my opinion. So
they did.
And
if Baker Mayfield doesn't come in that game, they win.
And the Jets tend to always split with Miami because I hate the Dolphins. Are just
so they're a fraud. They're a fraud.
They're not as good, but like early in the season, the Dolphins are a great September football team, and
you
they
called that.
Have the Jets number.
You called that.
Yeah. So I'm happy with where the Jets are. They looked, they got the big play on Sunday, which is what we were knocking on them for, or at least Bud was crushing them last week, and I was kind of like they were inches away from completing them against Jacksonville, who's great, and then they got them against Denver, which was excellent. Now, you're not going to get 200 yards rushing and 100 yards rushing out of your running backs every single week. That being said, the Colts have a much worse defense than Denver, so I feel very good heading into the Indianapolis game. Andrew Luck can't win games for the Colts. It's been proven. The Jets are in position to actually have a winning streak. It's been a very long time. Now, I just think everything I'm hearing out of the team is very good. They're really stressing to not have the letdown. Now, we had the letdown week 2, and then it took them a whole half to get back on it, and they couldn't come back against Miami. Like I said, they shut them out in the second half. I don't know, something –
do you foresee a problem with – not that it's a problem. It's obviously – I think it's because the running game was working so well, but Darnell only completed 10 passes. Granted, 3 of them were for touchdowns, but –
So, because I've watched Tom Brady play so much as a Jets fan and as my wife's a Patriots fan, so much over these years, I don't really care what the quarterback does as long as he manages the game towards a victory. If the team wins, the quarterback was successful. Now, Darnold didn't have a lot of completions, but he threw 2 bombs and 3 touchdowns. He put the ball right where it needed to be. He had 1 interception that was like a tip ball, so that's not even his fault. I mean, if you can run the ball to victory, that makes me happy because the Jets ran to the ball to victory with Mark Sanchez and got to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row. But Mark Sanchez never instilled confidence in me as a fan. He just always seemed like he was ready to run over to the sidelines and ask his coach what to do. I don't have that feeling watching Darnold. He looks like he could call an audible if he needed to. He scrambles really well. I love him throwing on the run. I mean, I think they're trying to figure out the best offensive flow for this team and for Darnold. But they got to play their opponents, right? And if they could run all over Denver, why do you stop? You eat up the clock, and they could not stop the Jets running game. There's no reason to throw the football. There's no reason to.
No, and Denver was known for their run defense, and you're right. You literally ran all over them. I mean, that game probably could have been a lot worse than it was if somebody fumbled, I think, on the first series
in the red zone. Yeah.
So I mean, that game could have been out of hand a lot earlier. So listen, you guys have all the confidence in the world to play in Indianapolis next week, who has a much worse defense than Denver does.
Yeah. So I don't think that Denver actually has a very good defense this year. I want them to because I picked them. We do a wins pool. We pick 3 teams. They're one of my teams. So I want them to have a better defense. But Jacksonville definitely has a really good defensive line. So does Miami, and so does Cleveland. They've got 3 really disruptive defensive lines. Now, I don't know what the Dolphins are the Dolphins. They're going to end up 7-9 or 8-8. They do every single year. But they're that team that manages to stay right in the middle and no one's happy, except for me as a Jets fan. But the Jets coming up now, like you saw what they did against average defensive lines week 1 and now last week. I don't know where that leaves them as a team, except that they're not going to play great defensive line every week. I think they probably got most of them out of the way already. I'm trying to think who else is on their schedule. Green Bay doesn't scare me. The Minnesota Vikings, I mean, they were supposed to have a very good defense, so that will be tough. They still got Buffalo twice and New England twice. Yeah, I mean, the Patriots are getting going. I always like to think the Jets will split with everybody in the division. We'll see if it happens. I'm kind of taking it 1 week at a time with this rookie quarterback. I've been writing that it's a roller coaster. And so I'm just trying to enjoy the ride because it's going to go back down at some point.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I wish I could be enjoying the ride right now. I'm sitting and teetering on the brink of the season being over here at 1-4. I'd be thrilled if I was 2-3 right now, but that's just not the case.
So Todd and I wrote about the worst teams in the NFL, and the Giants obviously aren't one of them. But they're not the only team at 1-4. There's like 6 other teams. I mean, you think they're all done? You think all of them?
I mean, statistically, if you go through the history, you'd think any team at 1-4 is probably done. Just maybe just me being biased, but I just see things. Every game seems to be getting a little better. You're scoring more, and it's just if you need the ball bounces 1 or 2 ways, a different way. You think the Jacksonville game, if they don't muff that punt at the end, they could have won that game. The New Orleans game, they could have won that game if a few bad calls didn't go their way. And obviously, they should have won.
Yeah, sorry. I was leaving the Giants out of the equation because they're in a division that is boringly average from a casual fan's perspective. Nobody's really in that division. So that's great for the Giants.
It's like 2015 all over again when nobody wanted to win it.
But I got to believe that the Falcons are done. I don't see them coming out of this hole. They don't have a defense. And then
– No, they got nobody. No, they're playing who are they playing this week? I was thinking about it before. But anyway, if they don't win this week, they're officially done too.
Yeah.
Which is a shame too because you got Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Sanu and Gabriel and Freeman. You just have nobody on the defensive end. They've been snake bitten on defense all year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they got by 2 seasons ago, and then they've kind of been on a slow decline since. I think some of their players left for more money. But, I mean, that's what's been the Packers' undoing, too. I wanted to buy –
The NFC is the Rams, the Saints, and everybody else. That's it.
Yeah.
So you have your 1 and your 2 seats locked up. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are literally still up for grabs.
Yeah, well, and I thought the Saints would be good again heading into the season. My brother was a little skeptical. He liked Carolina more. Now, Carolina's only a half game behind them in the wins column, or what they have because they've had their bye. But
yeah, they're 3-1 now.
I'm not sure how I'm really going to see if the Saints defense can hold up. Like, it's been playing well enough.
You have to outscore them. You have to outscore the Saints. Like Bud said last week, you can give up 42 points as long as you score 43, and they can do that. I mean, Breeze easily could have thrown for 5 or 6 touchdowns yesterday if they let him. I mean, that game was out of hand. Obviously, I think did you watch that game last night? Did you see the one that he broke the record on? I mean, not that this is all – there's nothing scripted and there's nothing predetermined, but that was the easiest touchdown I've ever seen on that, and that was the one that broke the record. There was nobody covering that guy. He was wide open.
It's so hard. Like, I have a friend who is all about the NBA conspiracy because it's reasonably easy to swing a game.
If there was an NBA conspiracy, the Knicks would not suck for 25 years. That's end of discussion. It's over.
Well, they had a bad owner.
That discussion stopped right there.
That's a fair point. Maybe this conspiracy doesn't kick in until they make the playoffs, and then
that's my stance. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you up. I just wanted to make that comment.
I feel that, but it's almost impossible. Like, you can throw a play in the NFL. It's almost impossible to.
No, it was just set up so perfectly.
But so gambling's legal now, So it almost becomes more of a question of whether anybody's going to want to go that way. Like, I don't know. It just makes you wonder, like, there's no avoiding it. Not that players are going to do it, but, like, if you're on a 1-5 team and you're like –
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think anybody's doing it either. It'd be too easy to catch them nowadays. It's interesting because, like, so there's a lot of bad teams. Some of these bad teams, right? I don't know what the NBA NFL draft looks like next season, but I'm not saying I'm trying to leave the Giants out of this equation. I do feel as though they're the exception, being in the NFC East. But there's 5 other teams that really don't have an incentive to win many more games, especially if they lose another. I don't know. Is there a top prize in this coming draft? Do you know off the top of your head? I haven't really looked ahead yet, but it's gonna.
I don't. But I think it's too early for that.
Too early.
I don't. Yeah, I think it's a little too early for that.
Last season, with the quarterbacks, we don't have the buzz yet this year.
Right.
But, like, I wasn't rooting for the Jets to win all that much last season, knowing they were sucking for Sam, and it paid off.
Yeah.
So, of course, Baker was a nice pick also. So, is there any teams in the league that you actually think are, like, teetering on shooting into the playoffs? Like, obviously, it's probably got to be a team with a star quarterback that's just kind of meandering on average. I mean, everyone would want to point at the Packers, but I don't believe in them right now. I don't believe in their defense at all. I think that.
Good question.
So
I'm trying to think more in the AFC, only because, like I said, the NFC is so wide open. You can pick any team out of a hat.
Yeah, I mean, anything could fall. I mean, I like Chicago in the NFC right now. I actually think they'll win a wild card if it's over the Packers, or
they might win the division. They might win the division.
I still think it's the Vikings to lose, even though they're behind them. I just think Minnesota's had a slow start. The AFC's pretty open. I'm still waiting for Kansas City's defense to, like, hold them back, but it hasn't happened.
It hasn't yet. I mean, geez, same thing with, like we said, with the Saints. Mahomes, you got to outscore him. And if you don't, you're going to lose.
When I liked the Chargers before the year, I still like the Chargers. I mean,
they went into Jacksonville, and just Jacksonville, Blake Bortles looked like Blake Bortles again. The Kansas City went to Jacksonville. It was supposed to be number 1 offense against number 1 defense, and number 1 offense won with no problem.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
That was probably the surprise of the weekend, I think.
And I don't like Tennessee. I wasn't surprised they lost to Buffalo. I called that. Like, I just knew that the Titans are not formidable. I
guess to answer your question, I mean, you're only at week 5, so I mean, there's so much more that can happen.
Too early now.
More injuries are going to happen. Like Jay Ajayi is now gone for the Eagles, which I'm happy about because we don't have to worry about him on Thursday. But I mean, there's going to be so many more things that happen between now and week 16 that we think is going to happen is going to change.
Yeah. So this is maybe the most interesting division to me is the AFC North. So Baltimore gave away a game last week, or they just didn't show up. I really like what the Cincinnati Bengals are doing this season. I'm happy to see them back on the up and up because they were good a couple of years ago, and then they kind of like meandered, and it's like, did they just disappear? So I'm happy to see them succeeding. I really want to see someone take down the Steelers. Now, they're going to get Le'Veon Bell back. They're going to get Bell back, though. I'm just afraid they're going to be able to outscore people, too. Their defense is not great, but it's not awful.
You think when Le'Veon Bell comes back, they're just going to put him right back in the starting lineup after all the stuff that happened and all the things he said and all the locker room, commotion? I mean, you think they're just going to welcome him back with open arms?
They need him, or they're not going to make the playoffs.
No, I get that. You're right. I agree with you on that one. But do they really need him? Because Connor just had another great game, granted against Atlanta, but
I think this is what they need to do. So let's put this from a business perspective. You are paying this man money. You want to get your money's worth. You want Connor's legs to not burn out after 1 year. I think they'll do a timeshare 50-50 split to try to get their money's worth while not killing Connor because I think they want him next season. So
that's Bell's problem. That's his whole point is that they're going to run me 100 and 300 times, and I'm going to burn out, and I'm not going to get that nice contract, and God forbid he get hurt. What's the guy in Seattle?
Earl Thomas.
And he just came back, and he's it's broken leg. He'll it'll heal, but
he got hurt on the
that's the whole point.
Yeah, he said he's taking one for every other player in the league, and I don't know when negotiations are coming up, but I saw something after the last season that the players almost guaranteed a lockout for the next negotiation, and Le'Veon Bell's almost like rubber stamping it. I think this is going to be their issue, and it may get ugly. I don't know if I think it's before the 2020 season, so I think we get another full season of football before we have to hold our breath.
Yeah, hopefully nobody wants to hear lockout. Nobody wants that to happen. I don't even think the players want to happen because they lose money. If they don't play, they don't get paid. And obviously, we know these NFL contracts are made on napkins because they can just be torn up at any moment.
So maybe that was like an empty threat to try to. But the negotiations aren't going to start until they have to.
Yeah, I mean, really, you're only talking about a couple of players here that are, like you said, the poster boys for it. Everybody else seems to be pretty happy.
Yeah.
Beckham got his money. Aaron Rodgers got his money.
Yeah, I guess Kirk Cousins wrote out the franchise tag pretty successfully.
So we mentioned that I don't know if it was this week or a couple weeks ago, but he has obviously the first guaranteed contract in NFL history. That trend is going to start continuing.
Yeah, and I think it's a positive. I mean, to guarantee a couple seasons,
I agree.
It's like these guys, if they're young enough, they'll come back from their injuries. You got to guarantee a couple of years. Hey.
Yep.
You enjoying your show?
I completely agree with you.
You can see Maddie's head here, so I'll just pop her up so you can say hi.
There's Maddie.
Hello. All right. Well.
All right. So you got the Colts next week. We'll get to the Giants. All right. So you said that obviously the Colts obviously don't have as good of a defense as Denver. So you're expecting another win.
The Jets should win this football game. They are a better team than Indianapolis. I mean, in record-wise and just in performance, the Jets, they don't need to rush for 300 yards. But if they rush for 150, they'll win. They'll beat the Colts. I think if they combined get over 100 yards rushing between their two running backs, they will beat the Colts. They've won the turnover margin in almost every single game. I don't see that changing. Andrew Luck's known for throwing interceptions. Nobody on the Colts really scares me outside of Luck.
Are you afraid of a letdown game, though?
So the Jets already had one after their Week 1 victory. So I believe everything I'm reading, everything I'm hearing out of the locker room is that they learned their lesson. That they learned their lesson from the letdown game Week 2 after their high of Week 1. And so now You're not going to have another letdown game. The Jets are known for letdown games. They almost always have a letdown game after a victory. Almost always. I know Bud would sit here and say they're going to lose because they just won. I know he would say that. Guaranteed he would say that. I think it's different under Darnold. The game might be closer. I think the Jets, there's a 50-50 chance that they start slow, but Indianapolis is not good enough to pull away. Miami was disrupting the Jets on defense all day, and then that really led to points in the first half. Then the Jets shut them out in the second half and just couldn't score enough to win. The Indianapolis is not good enough to pull ahead like Miami did. And I don't actually think the Jets are going to start slow. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they go the deep ball to Robbie Anderson, play one of the game when they're on offense, and just be like, we're not letting it off the gas. We're going to go deep, play one to Anderson again, and see if they can get him catching, sleeping over the top. Now, it may or may not work, but I think they're going to set the tone that way as opposed to running the ball to start with, like what they did with Denver. And the other thing is, their defensive coordinator's got serious health issues. No one's elaborating, so it makes me really nervous for him, Casey Rogers. But Bowles did a pretty good job last week. I have a feeling he'll be running the defense again this week. He likes the blitz almost more than Rogers does because he called the defense, I think, his first year with the Jets. And so I think Andrew Luck's going to be on his back a lot of the time. I don't think the Colts can stop the Jets' front four. They've impressed me this year. I didn't think they were as bad as people were making them off to be. My prediction would be 28-10. I really think the Jets will they're not going to blow them out, but it should feel like a statement win. I think that the Jets are an above average team and Colts look like a below average team. It's easy to swing between 6-10 and 9-7 in the course of a season, but Indianapolis looks like a 4-win team, and the Jets. This is a win. This is like an easy game for the Jets. I'm not going to pick against them. So.
I hope you're right.
How about the Giants? Give us your Giants take for Thursday.
They have to win. It's literally win or you're done. They have to win this game or their season's over. Like you said, you have to take all that anger and all that the media's against us. And I know we didn't get into it, but that whole thing about Beckham is just so blown out of proportion. Give me a break. It's a media story, whatever. Anyway, you got to take all that. You got to bottle up, and you got to beat up on the Eagles, who obviously don't look as good as last year. They just lost Jay Ajayi. Carson Wentz is still getting his feet back underneath them. They're not as good as obviously last year, but win the game. If you don't, the season's over. I know I said last week they had to win on Sunday, but that was before the rest of the division lost. So they have one more chance.
I know, it's one more chance. I mean, obviously the Eagles season isn't over if they lose to the Giants, but I think the Giants are going to win and beat the Eagles, and that NFC East is just a mess. That's a 7-9 team making the playoffs waiting to happen right now.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I don't even care at this point. I'll take it.
Anything else you're watching for this weekend or this coming week of games?
When is that? I don't think that Monday night game, the one against Kansas City and the Rams, I think is 2 weeks away.
Oh, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, that's the one on Monday night. So that's the one I'll be looking forward to. I think most of us will. It will be interesting to see what Jameis Winston does in his first game back as the starter. We all knew that was going to happen. We knew Fitzpatrick was going to eventually, give the reins back over. So, I think that's who it is. It's Tampa and Atlanta. That game might go to 70 points.
Yeah, neither of those teams have any defense.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Start Jameis Winston in fantasy. Start all of your people against the Atlanta defense. Everybody. So that's my tip of the week.
I'm starting. I have Calvin Ridley. He had a slow game last week. I'm starting him for sure because Tampa can't defense either. Final thoughts. You brought up a fantasy question earlier. Let's talk fantasy for a second. So you're trying to look for a tight end.
All right. So tight end, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one with this problem, but tight end is just a dumpster fire of trying to find someone to start every week. So I started with Njoku. I got rid of him. Then I had O.J. Howard. He got hurt. I have Aaron Jones on the bench because I also have Kamara, I have Hunt, and I have Barkley. So, all right, Aaron Jones is expendable. I know he's going to be – if McCarthy ever let him loose like he should, Aaron Jones could be a monster, but that remains to be seen. So I went to the guy who had Evan Ingram, and not just because I'm a Giants fan. This is just – I think Evan Ingram behind Ertz, behind Kelsey, is the number 5, number 6 tight end in the league, who actually is very productive. So he's coming back. He might play on Thursday. I know I'm going to use him for the run. So I said, all right, I need myself a tight end. Evan Ingram, I know I watch him every week, so I know he can play.
There are a few other players that really fit that bill this season. I thought the guy in Oakland did, but the Raiders stink. So.
He's like an every other week player, and you have to guess which week it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, So root for us, pray for us on Thursday, and hopefully when we come back next week, we'll have 2 wins to talk about.
Yes, we need a double victory week. We haven't had it yet. I mean, haven't had a lot of victories, period, but we need a double victory. All right, well, thanks, Phil. I'm Dan Salem. You guys tune back in. We're on BuzzChomp every week, and they've got a full podcast. I'm sure, Phil, you have a lot more to say about the Giants.
Oh, I do. I didn't get to unleash my full range of emotions on this because we have a short amount of time. I will absolutely do that on the podcast tonight.
You need like a gavel, just like slam it down for something to, I don't know. I'm sure you wanted to burn that flag, but I'm glad you didn't.
No, I did not.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk again next week.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.
Woo.